think we're good to go.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah.
do it? All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the school podcast. Ms Bakalis is here today. So tell us about yourself, Ms Bakalis.
Oh, hi. Well, quite a bit to tell, so
Let's get into
probably
it.
should start a little short version, really.
Yeah.
Been teaching at St Mark's now. This is my 4th year. Started here in 2016. Came from another school which I'd taught at for 12 years. And yeah, love teaching. Really love teaching at St Mark's. It's probably, when you say you love teaching, you have to kind of like think about what pushes you forward every day, even when things are probably a little bit, things get hectic at school. But always at the back of your mind, and what motivates me the most is, I know it sounds corny, but it's actually the kids. Teachers talk about being exhausted, mentally. It is obviously a mentally exhausting job. But what you have to realise when you're in a classroom, if that's your vocation, is that when you're with the kids, even me just sitting here now talking to you, there's no stress in that. Because the interaction with young people, I can walk out of a class and I then feel energised.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So do you ever have interactions with people and a conversation and then you come out of it feeling...
For sure, definitely. I know what you mean, yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
But I didn't know you felt that as a teacher.
No, because, imagine... so how you kind of have to understand it is you guys go out, right? You have a social...
Yeah,
Do you have a social life?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Are you sure? You're in year 12.
No, yeah, we do.
Okay, so if you're on a social level, you're mixing, obviously you meet different people. Wait until you guys are at uni next year, your life's gonna, in terms of a projectile, it's just gonna be off the radar. It's not like at school at all.
Yeah.
I think what's so good about teaching is that you are with different people all the time. What you have to understand is that every student that you teach is like a different person. So what does that person bring to you and your life? But unless you are good at establishing positive relationships with students, then you're not going to get that as a teacher. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So some teachers are all about imparting of knowledge, but that's actually not the essence of teaching. To me, teaching is based around the formulation of good relationships where the teacher, yes, is more a mentor and a facilitator of the learning. It's not... And I think for me that's probably evolved over time. You come to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you teach geography, I believe.
Yes, of course.
Why do you like geography?
Best subject.
Yeah, why?
For sure.
Okay.
Funny story about that too.
All right.
Have a double major in history and economics.
Okay.
And started out teaching, and there was no way that these old guys in this department I was working in another private school were going to give me a class. No way. They were set history economics teachers. And a lady that was teaching geography said, why don't you just take a geography class, like a year 11 geography class? We've got 3 geography classes. So I did. So I just fell into it, and she was a great mentor. I haven't looked back since, and because she was so inspirational, there seems to be something common. There's a commonality amongst geography teachers. They're quite passionate. She was like that, and that's how I fell into it. Yeah, so haven't looked back. I mean, I love all humanities subjects, economics, love philosophy. Do any of you guys do philosophy?
I do philosophy.
You do philosophy?
Yeah.
But you do history, right?
I do history, yeah.
So do I.
And you do history as well. Do you do economics as well?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Oh, so you do 3 humanities?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're a total human.
It's quite intense, yeah. Nathan does 0.
Yeah.
So you're a science man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we have to talk about it.
Yeah, that's okay. No, but it's but I'm always interested from people that only study sciences to see, do you think there is a difference in thought process, interactions. I don't
the
know.
personalities of
Yeah,
the
of different people. What do you think?
I kind of just didn't like the content in humanities, and I thought science was just more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, more interesting.
And are you going to study science like after school?
Yeah, probably.
What about you, Roman? What are you thinking? Oh,
Still not
professional podcaster.
Of course, yes.
Probably something in communications.
Yeah.
Something. Actually, what did I do? I did last night. I signed up for communications, but with the army. So
Really?
kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, so what? Going into ADFA?
The
No,
Defence
not
Force, yeah.
into the Defence Force. Okay.
Yeah.
So general entry, do you mean? General entry army?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So not...
As
not,
an option, you know.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. Mm.
Pretty cool.
What about you, Damien? After doing all those humanities?
I was considering journalism, but then I don't really know. Then I was considering history, but yeah, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's funny, you kind of like... I think... I really do believe that post-study after school should not be employment based. It should be more based on you thinking about allowing your own knowledge and understanding and your development as a person to continue after school, and you need to, be in studying a field that you're interested in, but it doesn't have to have attached to it, oh, I study, I will get a job doing this.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And I really, I really do believe in that, in doing study that broadens and develops you. Yeah.
So what's the point in doing it if you're not going to get a job at the end of it? Like, I've heard you say, it broadens you, makes your personality whatever, but then, what are you going to do about employment,
Well, if you do, say, an arts degree
Yeah,
at UWA, which you might end up doing,
probably, yeah.
and then in your arts degree, you'll major in a specific area, but then your options for employment will be very broad, because you will have an arts degree does not equal an employment like a job. It's not like if you did, urban and regional planning, or if you did law, obviously. But what happens when you do, even if you do a science degree, it then opens you up. Obviously, you can do postgrad, so you then can go ahead. Maybe you want to be interested. You might be interested in archives, and research, something like that. Then you would do your arts, which gives you the base, and then while you were doing that arts degree, at the end of it, after 3 years, you'd be like, you know what, this really interests me. So then, yes, you then would do postgrad. What I mean is, it's not initial. You should not be like a lot of people think that they should study initially and then straight away job.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be like some general study to find where your interests are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
I
kind of
that.
get
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like school. I don't know. But do you
Yeah.
think a lot of people at school do subjects that are going to help them into courses for a job? Or do you think kids are doing subjects that they like? What do you think happens?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, it's
Like,
different.
you do
with the
subjects
kid.
you enjoy, but then you're also thinking, I need to get a job, so, I need to do human bio if I want to become a doctor, or, for
I think
example.
it's less about job, more about uni for ATEL students anyway.
You think?
If they do the courses based on if they want to do that in uni.
That's
Sort of
right.
thing. I'd say, yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's more. So you think it is more job related, or is it course related to uni?
Course related.
Course
to uni.
related to uni.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you think that in the back of their mind is equating with employment?
I reckon some
yeah,
people,
yeah, for some people.
Do you guys
it's
know
different.
what the current? Well, you're an economist. Current rate of youth
I do not know.
unemployment
Is it?
is
What is
pretty
it?
high.
Is it high?
I
Oh.
think it's. Oh, you can look it up. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's like, maybe 20%, 30%. It's quite
Wow.
high.
Yeah.
In just WA alone, or the entire Australia?
I think WA is pretty
Alright.
high at the moment, and really hard, hey, for graduates to get jobs, because there's not a lot of graduate positions.
It says 14.5%.
Oh, okay, so maybe
wrong.
under 20. Might be
Right.
Still,
higher.
that's pretty
yeah,
decent,
that's pretty high,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? And a lot of people, I think that is probably quite high too, because a lot of people won't go regional. Like, they won't get out of Perth for a
Yeah.
job.
I reckon some people will. Don't you reckon?
I think it's a personality type that will.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Well, if you've been studying at uni for all that time, you'd probably want to stay near the city where you're comfortable, surely, than going
Yeah.
out to
I see that. Yeah.
Kalgoorlie or something.
You
Unless-
have to
yeah.
relocate. You've got to relocate. Sometimes they don't offer housing. You know all about this. Roman will tell you
Yeah,
in geography.
yeah.
We've been doing, like, the challenges facing rural and remote communities. What did it say for Australia?
Huh? Oh, let me bring it back up.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Because in geography, we're talking a lot about different cities.
yeah.
And I know you could probably say a lot of good things about a lot of cities and how they help our environment or how the roads are just nice.
Yeah.
But what's the worst? What if
The
you
worst-
personally that you've
worst
been
city?
to that you thought
Oh,
this is just not
this is so
this,
bad
you know,
saying
this
this
is
on a...
backwards.
Okay, this is so bad me saying this on a podcast.
Yeah.
It's like Athens in Greece. Have any of you guys travelled to Greece?
I've
haven't,
been to
no.
Athens, yeah.
Okay. Oh my God. So it is the worst city in terms of the streets are really narrow in Athens because obviously, if you look at the base of the Acropolis and then you've got like the old Athens around it, Athens grew really quickly, like kind of like post-war. So post Second World War.
Okay.
So post Second World War, a lot of people came from surrounding country areas because there was a decline in agricultural production. The economy was going really slow, not many jobs available. So of course everyone left country areas to come to the big city. So it grew. They just put apartments in. There are some street, and then that was fine. Narrow streets, high density housing. But people didn't have cars back then. If you're talking about the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s, people didn't have cars. But as soon as Greece started to kind of like develop, industrially, and living standards improved into the 70s, 80s and 90s, the big thing was, you can get a car. So people in Athens don't need a car because you can catch public transport. You can walk. It's quite pedestrian oriented. Good geographic term there. Just pick that one up.
Pedestrian oriented.
Yeah, they're called pods. So this is podcast. A pod is a pedestrian oriented development.
Oh, is there a relation there?
I don't think
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind, yeah.
What about a Todd? Do you remember I told you what a Todd is?
Is that the transport one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So transport
Oriented
development.
development.
Yeah. And we're actually going to go to a Todd at Coburn Central, which is supposed to be not a very well designed Todd. Anyway,
yeah.
so in Athens, really narrow roads, too many cars, there's nowhere to park the cars.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get down streets that are blocked because people have parked their cars, huge traffic jams. They don't follow road rules. They even go through red lights. It's a nightmare. I say lots of prayers every time I go to Athens and I get in a taxi or in a car. Oh, I can't drive in Athens.
Yeah.
Well, it's the other side of the road, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like the rest of Europe except for the UK.
Sure, I guess. But how about the history of Athens?
How about the history
Yeah,
of Athens?
is
What-
that discredit the value of the city? Or
Oh, good
what?
question.
I mean, because it's got to
Very
be
good
It's like
question.
the
pretty
history
good.
of the modern world.
Yeah.
And the ancient world.
and the
as well.
ancient
the
world.
birth
Whole
of
ancient.
philosophy,
Well,
everything.
let's actually look at it.
All right.
Do you really think that the ancient world can actually mix with the modern world? Does it work? I mean, it's actually quite bizarre because when you go, I don't know, how old were you when you went to Athens?
I was quite young. All I remember is a lot of people in the streets selling stuff.
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't very good stuff. And
They had the markets and stuff.
yeah, and then I remember everything was really cool. Like all the big, what do you call them? What's the big one? The massive buildings that are really old with
Oh,
the big
yeah.
pillars.
Yeah, oh yeah, that Grecian architecture
Yeah,
with the pillars and all
that's
that.
where
I mean,
I
it's
really was.
incredible. But, you go to Athens and it's actually just white because what's happened is there's mountains all around Athens and the apartments and all the urban development has actually spread up into the mountains and Athens just looks like white. It doesn't have any green. Like in terms of planning an urban environment, it's really ugly. But then there's this big rock, kind of like big mountain in the middle, and the Acropolis sits on top of that. And at night, it's lit up, and it's almost like this is like a shining beacon of the ancient world.
It's pretty cool.
It actually is really cool, and you get that real sense of, the ancient, like, Athenians were here, and I mean, my uncle lives near Marathona, and it's how long is a marathon? How far do you run for a marathon? That's where it got its name, because he ran from Marathona, right, to Athens to tell him about I think it was the Minotaur in like ancient, like, mythology.
Yeah,
Do you not know the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how far is a marathon when you run a marathon?
27 Ks?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't
No,
know.
I
Or was
think
it
it's, is it? No,
48?
it's more.
42.
42 kilometres. Yeah. So he ran from Marathona to Athens.
Yeah.
So, all sorts of things like that. It's incredible. But, there's people living in Athens that have never been to the Acropolis.
What's that?
For sure.
The Acropolis.
Is it,
Yeah,
the main, like,
the big
pillars building.
the big ancient site.
That's,
And if you
that's
ask them, what do you think they...
How do you not go to that?
Yeah.
Well, they're
I mean,
like...
there are a lot of tourists, but...
Yeah, but
still.
they're like, I look at it every day. Why'd I have to go to it? I don't know. I mean, has every Australian been to Uluru?
I mean,
I haven't.
I don't think, no.
Has every Australian
But that's
climbed
kind of...
the Sydney Harbour Bridge?
I think I have.
I
Maybe.
have.
When I
Have
was
you?
young.
Have you climbed it?
Don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't been to the eastern states.
Okay. So it's kind of that thing. Like you haven't even seen the Opera House. So has every Australian seen the Opera House?
That's like on the other side of the country, though.
I know.
For them,
But
it's
they're
like
city.
in their
Oh,
city.
yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. So in Perth, what's something we all, like, have or haven't done in Perth? I don't know.
The bell tower.
BHP.
Oh,
bulletin
like
board.
the dam thing. The
Oh, Mundaring Weir.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Walked across the Mundaring
I
Weir.
mean, that's not really that iconic,
Yeah,
but
No,
Yeah,
I know. But,
it's-
yeah. You maybe,
King's Park, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, do you really value something if you see it every day? This
Probably
is a good
not.
question.
Yeah, you get sick of it.
Yeah, or it's just there, so you're taking
Yeah.
it for granted.
It's like white noise. In a
Huh?
way. It's like white noise in a way.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So it's there on your radar. Why do you need to? Yeah, good question.
All right. Were you gonna say something? Or?
I was going to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I'm really interested to know is how did you come up with this idea, like a school after hours podcast?
All right.
Because can I say, when I've listened to your podcast, and I've got my son Isaac to listen to your
Really?
podcast,
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
and he works in the arts, and he's in the industry.
Yeah.
He thinks you have a really the way you speak.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
actually not.
That warms my heart.
Yeah, I'm actually not having you on because I'm a pretty honest person. I'm gonna tell you how it is.
Yeah.
You have really good radio voices. So yeah, where'd it come from? The idea?
I think we talked about this on the first one actually.
Oh, okay.
But I think I had the idea for it I think last year. And then it was in the back of my mind, and then I remember telling Roman about it early this year, and then Roman was like, "Oh, I want to start a podcast." So then he kind of jumped on board, and then we made a proposal, got approved, and then here we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
That's
asked.
awesome.
We
I
were
think-
thinking about it at lunch, and then a couple of days later, Dr. Bailey Smith
Yeah.
was there, and we asked her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, just get an approval, an approval thing." And
I think it actually started with you, Ms Bakalis.
Are you serious?
In,
No.
in year 10, because I remember
Whatever.
you were going off one of your famous tangents.
Oh, I love
and
it.
I remember thinking to myself, this would be good podcast material.
Oh,
But
excellent.
nothing really happened then. But I
Yeah.
think that was
That's
this is the
good.
seed.
Oh, I'm
So-
glad I've been inspirational in
I think-
another area, another field. There are so many
Yeah.
dimensions to life. I think that's what I think school. That my question to you was going to be this: Do you think a lot of teachers probably are too focused, kind of like on one aspect, one dimension of school, and that maybe students learning, motivation for learning would expand. They would be more motivated if teachers were that multi-dimensional.
Yeah, I reckon there's a focus on like get this information down the students' like
Exams.
throats. I know that sounds really like what's the word? Mean, but like I think but what you're saying with like life skills and other stuff other than just the information and the knowledge, like that's also important, right? Yeah.
What do you reckon? Exams?
I feel like
Exam focus.
in most of the classes I go to, it's just about exams now, which is from later years before, it was more about just learning, but now it's like you're only here for exams, and that's it, which is in a way true, but...
Do you get that sense in my classes? You need to be brutally honest here.
That's why I like your class, because we actually talk about Perth or, the world.
Relevant stuff, yeah.
And we are still learning things, of course, that we need for the exams, but...
Yeah. But as a teacher, that's really hard to do that juggling act.
Yeah.
Because, if you're not so focused, I mean, some kids, you got kids in the class that are thinking, feeling, acting human beings like yourself.
Yeah.
But you do have the other students that it's almost like an assembly line. I come in here, give me the information, I'll learn it, and you'll churn me out at the end.
Yeah. I feel that, yeah.
We do a lot of discussion, I don't know if you guys know, a lot of discussion and a lot of professional development on what do we want a St. Mark's graduate to be like at the end of their schooling. What's a St. Mark's graduate? You're going to be a graduate, like... We are. Have you actually counted weeks, hours?
I haven't, no.
I don't like to think about it.
It's soon. Someone who's...
The perfect St. Mark's.
Someone who
Now, hang on, I didn't say perfect. I said what is the ideal,
Okay.
not perfect. The ideal...
Someone who seeks truth and wisdom.
Sure does. I think someone who's values community, I reckon.
It's in the school name.
It is in the school, community school. Probably an understanding of the Christian ethos as well. Academic focus, obviously, I think those are the main...
but they're big things.
They are big things,
To seek truth and wisdom and a sense of community is not going to come about by merely being focused on exams.
Of course, yes.
So what do you think then the ideal is?
Well, my ideal would be what you guys have said, but also at the end, I'd like to see that people are active citizens and they are students who can be in charge of their own destiny. Like they can end up self-learners too, independent thought processes, and they can actually, they don't know something, they know how to find out, they know how to communicate.
Yeah.
Communication is a big thing. I mean, and the thing is that you guys in class, I think what surprised me about your podcast is that if I had to pick who was going to do a podcast, it wouldn't be you two. Right? So whilst I've had really good conversations with you in class, and I thought you were really different students, I don't think in class you were given the opportunity to show what effective communicators you are. I mean, if you don't have good communication skills, have you heard like at uni now they're thinking for some courses that you get into that they want to interview, that you've got to pass like an interview?
I've heard that before. I have.
Yeah.
I just thought everything required an interview for uni.
No, I mean to get into a particular course that you have to have an interview, not just like an ATAR grade. So for some courses that require what we call like soft skills, do you know what soft skills are?
Like social skills?
They call them the soft skills. So it's not like academic, like you're really good at research. You can actually do this, mathematical equation, you know how to write an essay, whatever.
Yeah.
These other skills. So for me, I really look at the graduate as having the communication, the soft skills. If you're trying to seek truth and wisdom, I don't think you're going to effectively do that unless you actually have those other good, soft, interpersonal communication skills. So, it's an interesting one. Definitely, but...
Can I ask you, who do you think would have been the host of the podcast? Because you said you don't think it would have been us.
Well, actually, I didn't even actually think that
One
St.
would
Mark's
happen?
kids would think about,
Really?
doing a podcast. Maybe because I was thinking not kind of high profile enough, for some kids.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Oh, like, it's not, like, where are you going to get, like, credit or recognition
For doing this.
for doing a podcast? Like, they would not see it as an effective use of their time.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
think
yeah.
the school, let's face it, like you said, academically focused. If you look at sport and things that people do outside of school, that actually takes up a lot of their time. I don't have an actual, like, name of a student, but I would think it would be more, I would have thought it was going to be more the students that were maybe involved in the arts, maybe in drama,
Yeah.
the actors.
I'd see that.
Maybe Luke,
He could do one.
tall
yeah.
Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. But funny
Yeah.
thing, do you remember in year 10, what I used to call you? No, year 9. No, year 9. Did I teach you in year 9? Or year 10?
think
I
it
had
was
you for the first.
10.
I think year
I think
10.
10.
Yeah.
Was it Romano?
No, not
Or was
Romano.
it
No, not Romano. Instead of calling you Roman, didn't I used to call you? I think I used to call you. Yeah, not straight Roman. 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 That's it. I don't know. And you never corrected me. Do you remember that? Like, what did you think that was a bit unusual?
No, I mean, it's just whatever.
Okay.
If you want to say like
Such a
it's cool.
good name though.
Roman.
What's the background of your name?
There isn't really. I was originally going to be called Jesus because it's Mexican and everyone's called Jesus.
Okay.
But here it's pronounced Jesus. So
Oh, yeah, it's the most common name.
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jesus is one of the most common
And Muhammad.
names in
Muhammad,
the, isn't it like in the Arabic world? No. Or
South America.
South American
Latin
world.
America.
Jesus and Maria. Because
And Maria, of course. Yeah, Jesus
Mary,
and Mary.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
But my mum
but
was
then-
my mum said nah because I probably would get bullied or something
Yeah.
calling Jesus. And my auntie just
Yeah,
said
who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Jesus?
um,
Yeah.
And then my auntie just said why not Roman, and it was like alright, there you go.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's,
Yeah, I like it.
And you've got a good name too.
Do I?
Yeah.
I think
Why?
my name means one who tames in Latin. Or not Latin, but like something.
Oh.
That's
Tame.
pretty
Did
cool.
Damien.
Damien
But it was
Cherry.
it Damien that tamed the lion?
Was it?
Wasn't it?
Wasn't it Daniel who did that?
Oh, it was Daniel. You sure you got the names right?
Yeah,
Daniel,
it's
Damien.
To tame.
To tame. Oh, it is. There you go. So,
Oh, it's not that
mhm.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of like my question.
Did you say that you need to be up by 4?
No, we can still keep going if you guys
Okay.
want to keep going. You should ask. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
another 5 minutes. What do you
Awesome,
reckon?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, that'd be good.
Do you know all the countries of the world?
No.
Considering you are a geography teacher.
I know, but the
Yes.
best game.
Yes.
Okay, if anyone's not played this, right? You know the best game to
Is
play.
it country celebrity heads?
Yeah, celebrity countries.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to guess GeoGuessr.
No.
Oh, that's
Oh,
also-
yeah,
that's
GeoGuessr
also
is
fun.
really good
Yeah.
too. But yeah, celebrity countries. So yeah, you just you sit down, put the country, and then of course it's yes no answers. So
Yeah, it's like
you're trying to establish in terms of geography where the country actually is.
yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think might be some appropriate questions to ask?
Like, do I border? I don't know, like
The ocean.
the
yeah,
ocean.
have I got
or-
a coastline?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Landlocked country. If you're thinking, oh, I'm a landlocked country in
Switzerland.
Africa or in
Europe,
on the continent of
so,
Europe, then
yeah.
you're trying to work out. Then famous does the population speak English? You know, because I mean, a lot of European countries, it's mandatory that they have to speak English. But if you're looking at African countries, you might ask a question, you know, have I got a fairly low GDP? You know, is poverty high in my country? Then you'd obviously... Do you know who's really good at countries?
Who?
Mr. Lehman. He knows countries' capital cities of probably all the countries in Africa.
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah, and
That's
then
impressive.
you can play a game if ever you're driving a long way.
Yeah.
A really good game to play is, so you got 50 states of America, and I don't know what you guys are like, but you know, sometimes you get mixed up with which name is the state and which one's the capital city.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
so what's Alabama? Capital city or state?
State, isn't it?
Yeah, and what's the
Yeah.
capital city?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm stumped too now.
I don't know.
Oregon.
No, Oregon's a state as well.
No,
what's-
no,
what's
no.
it called?
State.
Starts with an O, doesn't it?
Oklahoma.
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 Is it?
Is it? No, that's not.
No.
That's-
Oklahoma's a
Oklahoma's a state.
Montgomery.
Oh, Montgomery.
Montgomery, right.
And what's the capital of Oklahoma? Anyway,
I don't know,
but
yeah.
you know, it's
Be like
pretty
New
hard.
Zealand
Yeah.
or something.
So yeah, if you're ever on a long road trip, fun game to
Good
play is
entertainment.
let's actually see if we can name all the American
Oklahoma
states. Hey,
Just Oklahoma,
Oklahoma
City.
City. Oh gee, that was original.
Yeah. I
It's
remember-
like Kansas, isn't it? Kansas City.
or
No,
Mexico,
oh,
Mexico City.
City. Yeah, no, they couldn't think of another name.
Yeah.
We're a bit more ingenious with our names. Yeah, what were we gonna say?
I remember playing you in a game of that in year 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, did you
but
win?
I'm pretty sure I beat you, yeah.
Yeah, you beat me. Thanks.
I don't know which
I'm glad you
country I
remembered
was,
that.
but yeah, I just wanted
Do
to
you
bring
know
that
who
up.
else was really happy that he beat me?
Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis
yeah.
Barnes.
Yeah.
He actually was, he was quite a challenge, I must say. I had him in year 9.
Yeah.
And the only way I think that I gained his approval,
Yeah.
and you know, back then it was only a very slight approval, was because he got to beat me in that. So yeah, it's a good teaching strategy, either to get onside or offside students. Yeah. So yeah, cool.
$1 million.
Do we go into a 10-second fun fact before?
Oh yeah.
Alright, okay.
Oh yeah.
So do you know the game we do?
No,
10
I
seconds?
don't know.
Alright.
Oh yeah, I have heard it, but I can't remember
Okay.
because I haven't listened to all the podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay, fun
No,
fact.
alright.
Okay.
So there's 10 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
And we 15.
Five for each
All right,
person.
yes,
Okay,
15,
cool.
and we all have 15 seconds to say one fun fact about us.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
Yeah, it's on the spot. It's meant to be stressful, and yeah. So
Alright.
Nathan will get the timer up.
Go.
Start with
So
you.
who
Alright.
goes? You go first.
All right,
Okay.
or whoever.
Okay. So does it go in turn? So you do
no,
your
it
fun
goes
fact.
whoever comes to it
Oh,
first. Can
okay,
we
right, go.
get the
Fun
clock?
fact.
Alright.
Okay, do the time again.
You
Go.
have
Fun
15
fact.
seconds. Go.
All right. I failed my driver's test the first time.
I just got my wisdom teeth out.
Your turn. Your turn.
I actually failed my driving test 3 times.
Awesome. No, I didn't do
Okay,
mine.
yeah, that's
Nathan's
right.
doing it,
Yeah.
Okay, I have a fun fact.
Okay.
I was a go-go dancer when I was at uni.
What's a
Really?
go-go dancer?
Someone who dances
It-
like in a
yeah.
club in a cage. Like I did it a couple of times. Fun fact.
Cool.
All right. Do we have to end this? Do you have to leave?
Fun fact. No, fun fact.
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
bilingual. Means I can speak 2 languages
What's the
fluently.
other language?
Greek.
Greek,
and-
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Do
Come
you
on,
want
don't you have
to-
any more fun
Is that
facts?
a complex
I would
one?
win.
I've got a fun fact.
What's
Right,
fun
go.
fact?
Cats can have human allergies.
Yeah,
But
but
that's not about
you.
yourself.
It
doesn't
needs
have
to be
to
about
me,
you.
It's
Yes,
just a fun fact.
Oh, fun fact. I have like a really big nose.
There's
I-
two functioning ATMs in Antarctica.
That's,
That's
not about you.
though.
I followed his.
I
No,
have a.
that's on you.
That's
I-
Oh,
I-
that's so
what is,
freaky.
Is that like a double jointed
Proposed.
farm?
No,
or
that's
supposed-
freak.
I can
oh.
do like the worm with my thumb.
Okay, so
Alright.
people who
You
run
can't see this,
good
obviously.
podcasts are double jointed. Is that being double jointed?
Is it? Is
I-
that?
Oh, fun
don't know.
fact, I can touch my nose with my tongue. Can you do that?
I don't think so.
I think I can, but my mouth is a bit.
I'm so glad this is not
Yeah,
visual.
Yeah.
Your wisdom's teeth.
Yeah, see.
I can't stretch.
Oh, that's good. Do you have your wisdom teeth?
No.
Okay.
I haven't got
That
that.
was fun fact.
Awesome. Do you have to leave?
Yeah, probably.
Can you say something in Greek for us before?
Oh, okay.
Why don't you say thank you for listening?
Yeah.
Tune in next week and
Oh,
goodbye
yeah.
in Greek. For us.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Oh,
Ευχαριστώ που ακούσατε τα παιδιά σήμερα το απόγευμα. Πολύ ωραία ήταν να μιλήσω εδώ στα παιδιά, να ακούσω τι λένε και μπορείτε να μας ακούσετε την άλλη εβδομάδα το podcast κάθε Τρίτη. Is it every Tuesday?
It's just
Any day?
every once every week. It
Well, I
changes,
said Tríti. Yeah, that's it in Greek.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank
So
you.
say ευχαριστώ.
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 Ευχαριστώ. Yeah, that's thank you.
Ευχαριστώ.
That's it.
Right.
Ευχαριστώ.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup. All right, awesome.
So, cool.
All right,
Is that
thank
it?
you.
You ended it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
And when can I listen to it? I'm going to tell Isaac to listen to it. So what happened was Isaac listened to I think he listened to your first,
Yeah.
like he's been following you because he's kind of like really into that thing.
Oh.
You did have Luke.
We did have Luke on,
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't listened to his.
You should.
So I can go back, can't I?
Of course,
and listen
yeah.
to them.
It's
Okay.
on YouTube, yeah.
And what was Kendall? Kendall would have been so cool.
Yeah, we
He's
talked about
awesome.
philosophy,
Oh, did
The
you?
Office,
The
stuff
Office.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. When did you take this photo?
We forgot to take the photo last week, and it was just us, so we took it in my car.
Okay, so we have to take a photo.
We do, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
take
we
a
do.
photo.
We do.
Thank you.
Wait.
My lips are still on.
It's a 35-minute special. Are we recording anything after that, or just cutting?
No,
it after?
just leave it
Just
like
leave it like
Yeah.
that.